Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 3D Printing 101. I'm Caleb, and today we're going to be talking about how to choose a 3D printer. I get this question all the time. Caleb, how do I choose the right 3D printer? What is the perfect 3D printer to buy when you're a beginner? Truth is, there is none, so stop even trying. Seriously, there is no perfect 3D printer that's going to work best for everybody. Depending on your needs, depending on your budget, depending on what you want to do with the hobby, you have to decide what printer to get. But there is no one that's going to work best for you. You're going to have to try, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But most likely what's going to happen is you're going to buy a printer depending on your budget and a few different requirements, and you're going to love it. That being said, there are some criteria that you should use for deciding what printer to get because you don't want to waste a bunch of money. So today we're going to go through them all. I'm going to help you. At the end, I'm going to show you a table that I've made showing the best beginner 3D printers and when to buy them for your budget. All right, on to the criteria. Number one is build volume. Size matters, guys. Some 3D printers are really tiny and they can't print anything more than a chess piece, basically. Some of them are huge, not even talking about the ones that can make literal houses. Some 3D printers are huge. You can print full helmets on them. So if you're going to be doing something like cosplay, or you think you might want to do that, then maybe you want to invest in a slightly larger printer. That being said, you can make cosplay stuff on any size printer. I said before, I'm going to show you how to make big 3D prints on a printer this size, which, by the way, if you look, they're not the same size. They don't fit. Um, People have even made entire Iron Man suits on small 3D printers. I'm serious. Big printers are also generally going to cost more. So if you don't really care about the size, and most of the stuff you're going to be printing is small to medium size, which is the correct answer for most people, then you don't need a big printer. You can just save money and desk space and the hassle of trying to deal with a giant printer. Number two is price. This is probably the biggest factor that I see people thinking about when they're trying to figure out which printer to buy. And it makes sense. If you have $700 to spend, you're going to be able to get a printer with way more upgrades, way more cool features, and it might save you some time down the line. But if you only have $150 to $200, and that is like the minimum budget, I would say, starting in 3D printing, I would go with the Ender 3. Say that off the bat. I think the Ender 3 is probably the best, cheapest printer that you can buy. You can get ones cheaper. There are some really crappy ones on Amazon for $60. But the Ender 3, I would say, is the baseline. Keep your eye out. This is an Ender 3 Pro, and I've had it for the last 4 years, and it has worked wonders. But Micro Center, this printer usually runs around $220, $230. Micro Center runs a deal every once in a while where they sell this printer for $99. I think it's 99, yeah. Less than $100. And if you see that and you're looking for a 3D printer, if you're from the future and you get lucky, and those two events, you looking for the printer and them having the deal just align, I would do it. Uh, this is a great printer to start with. It has a lot of features, but it's not overcomplicated, and anyone can learn how to do it. Be careful though, because if you're gonna buy a discounted printer, make sure you're buying from a legit website. I have ordered 3D printers in the past, lost some money. They come and they are just in shambles. They are missing pieces. They're just bent out of proportion. I'm looking at one right now. Um, but I've isolated those links and I've only given you the safe ones down below. So if you want to make sure staying safe online, just go use the links in the description. All right, next up we have number three, and that's ease of use. I personally think that this is the most important piece of criteria on this whole list for deciding what printer to get. You're like most people I know, most people that have talked to me about it, And you probably want something to work pretty quickly. You don't want to have to replace a bunch of parts. You don't want to have to print a bunch of upgrades right away. You want it to generally work out of the box. And that makes sense, especially for beginners. So don't buy an overcomplicated machine just because it has more features. It's not going to serve you in the long term. The bigger your budget is for this, the more features you're going to be able to have that will make your life easier. You don't need them, but here are some that people consider. Auto bed leveling. Leveling your bed is kind of a pain in the butt. More so when I started out. It's not as much anymore. It takes a little bit of practice to get right. But really, you don't have to do it after every single print. If you do have enough money to spend on a printer with good auto leveling, then it's going to save you some time down the line and possibly even give you a better print result. It'll be more accurate. Humans are not as good at mechanical tasks, orienting things right as machines are. That's why we have 3D printers in the first place. But even if you don't have enough money to buy one with bed leveling, that's okay. I'm going to walk you through how to level your bed in a later video. Once you have chosen what printer you want to get, you need to decide if you want a kit or if you want a pre-built machine. I strongly recommend getting a kit. First of all, I think putting together a 3D printer is really fun. I just sincerely enjoy it. I really do. But there's another reason. When you build your own printer, you learn the machine inside and out. It really doesn't take that long. In a few hours, you're going to put together a machine that can synthesize anything, basically out of thin air. Think about that. So it doesn't take that long, but you learn your printer inside and out. You learn what everything does, how they're all connected to each other. And you're not going to know everything, but when something does happen, when a problem occurs, you're going to know better how to solve it. You're going to be better prepared. You also are just more confident when dealing with a 3D printer. Because you're like, I've touched this thing before. You're never going to get to a point when you're like, I've never seen this thing in my life. I don't know what it does. Building it, strongly recommend. Also, it's cheaper. If you buy a pre-built machine, it might cost you like $200 more sometimes because they have to manufacture it in the factory. So get a kit, unless you hate money and fun and knowledge. It's going to save you a little bit of time in the short term to get a pre-built machine. But in the long term, the time that you save just because of your understanding is going to far outweigh that. I've put all of this information into a super easy to use table. Understand that there are a bunch of different options out there that'll work great. So you might not choose this one, and that is okay. Just because it's not on this list doesn't make it a bad printer. But for the sake of simplicity, I wanted to keep this list short so you could understand it as fast as possible. If you've got less than $200 to spend, like I already mentioned earlier, I would recommend getting the Ender 3 Pro. It's about $160, and it's one of, if not the most sold machine in the world. If your budget is between $200 and $450, there are two machines I would look at. On the lower end, the Ender 3 Pro is a great machine. I've used it for the last 4 years. I've put it through some hell, and it's still here. It's still doing great. And I'm not going to say you should do anything. I don't believe in saying that anyone should do anything. But I got it for $99 at Micro Center, and it's worked wonders for me. If you're at the higher end of that spectrum, you can also get the $459 original Prusa Mini Plus kit. This one has more features that, like we said earlier, are just going to make your life easier. Prusa is a really good company. I'll link them down below. But if you look on their website, pretty much any of the stuff you find there is going to be high quality. If you've got money for days and you want to buy a higher end 3D printer from this list, I would go with the Bamboo Lab P1S for $699, or a little bit more is the original Prusa i3 Mark IIIS Plus. Both of these are more expensive, but like we said earlier, they're going to get you better results. Both of these are hundreds of dollars more expensive than the Ender 3, for example. But like we talked about earlier, the more money you spend, the more features you're going to get. So that's just a decision you're going to have to make yourself. There are no silver bullets. There is no one printer that's going to work the best for everyone. Otherwise, this video would be 10 seconds long, and it would just be me saying the name of the printer. Think about what you want from it. Think about how much money you have to spend, and don't overcomplicate it. I see way too many people who are new to 3D printing just dropping out because they're scared. There are way too many decisions they've got to make. And it doesn't help when you have grumpy Reddit users just yelling at you like, you should do this, you shouldn't do this. Like, truth is, don't overcomplicate it. Pick a printer that has good reviews and the brand is well known and try it out. I can't stress this enough. Do not stress about getting the right printer because you never will, because it doesn't exist. Anyways, we got to the end. Made it. Good job. I hope that this video helps you make your decision. And once you have your printer, once you're ready, I'll see you in the next lesson.